darbar, he had given patronage to a lot of classical musicians and dancers, and to others. So the Maharaj family from Hadia Tehsil. So that from there on started that here was this introduction of the Mandir Kathak into the court. So some of them came over there, because you do have names of people migrating over there and getting patronage. There were many external reasons, famine tha, ye tha, permanent settlement tha, ye kera. And then after that, then you had a new class of nouveau riche emerging. And that nouveau riche had different tastes. So,
यस, मैं गीतिका जी से पूछना चाहूँगी, जैसा इन्होंने बताया उसी को हम कंटिन्यू करते हैं. द वर्ड तवायफ केम, एंड देन फिर काफ़ी कुछ चेंज होने लग गया लोगों के परसेप्शन. तो प्लीज़ उस पर थोड़ा लाइट डालिए.
Actually, when the British in the 1800, and I think, I forget the date, 900, 1890 something, when they were going to renew the license for the East India Company to be able to function and to carry on their business in India, there was a big movement in UK demanding that if you are going to colonize all these black people, then you should also convert them to Christianity. This was the demand of the local people in UK. It is not just about money. You're not supposed to go there and make money. You're supposed to spread Christianity. So the government was forced to put this clause in the East India Company renewal lease that yes, you can continue working in India provided you you support and promote the missionary movement in India. Now that set off a completely new story here, because usse pehle to they were all here, they were doing their business and being friends like normal businessmen, traders and everything. But that then changed it, because then it also became important for them to spread Christianity. Now here were Kathaks and other who were actually spreading Ramayana and Mahabharata in the temples and telling people about all these things. And so how do you wean them off? So what they started doing was they started demonizing these people. कि ये देखो, ये तो जी नाचते हैं, ये तो तवाइफ्स के घर जाते हैं. And it is a fact that the Brahmins, the Kathak Brahmins, because they were the masters of the arts, all the performing arts and visual arts, they were the masters of those from centuries. A very senior Tavaif or a very good dancer, who were called Ganikas earlier, because this goes back to BC. So ये Ganika के time पे आ रही है ये, और वो सीखने इनके ही आते थे. ब्राह्मण सिर्फ दो चीज़ें कर सकते हैं, या तो पूजा कर सकते हैं या सिखा सकते हैं. They can only teach or they can preach. They cannot do any other activity. So teaching, they used to teach only to those women who were very talented and and this Ganikas and Tavaifs were also socially accepted. They were not the lower rung of women, which also sold their bodies. They were not those. They were the performers. They were the artists. So the Brahmins did teach them. But the British came and started saying, ye dekho ji, these are loose women, this, that. So the word Tawaif, which actually means a group. It doesn't mean a dancing girl. It's a Persian word which means a group. Now how it became Tawaif, we don't know. And so the whole country began to go against the Devdasis in the south, the Tavaifs in the north, and this movement started, and Indians also began to believe that ye to demons hain, ye to pata nahi kya hain, they are ruining our religion, so the whole narrative, the British changed our thinking, they changed our language, they changed, then apart from that, even economic factors like Shovana mentioned, there were famines all over. 60 million people died. There was the Spanish plague, which came after the World War, in which God knows how many, 17 million or some odd people like that died. And then there was a permanent settlement in which all the landlords were changed. So then, like she said, new elite came up, and everybody wanted to become slowly, more and more like the British. you know, and British, they don't have dancers. I mean, they to apne aap hi dance karte hain wo sab log. So yeah, we had no concept of men and women dancing around in their homes, you know. So here you went and saw a Brahmin in the temple or something. So this whole thing, I mean, this is a very long 3-4 chapters on this, how a very beautiful concept of narrative theology. If you, I don't know, heard this word, narrative theology is now very popular in the West because they've realized that if you want to talk about God, the only way to talk about Him through stories, through music, and now churches are having music, churches are having this thing. So narrative theology is now picking up in the West, whereas we had it many centuries ago. But the British came and spoiled this entire system, and it has not yet recovered. Most of us still believe that Kathak is a dance of the Tawaiffs, you know. And it is unfortunate that we do not really know the truth. This book, as Dr. B.N. Goswami has said, which I take which means a lot to me, he said this book tells the truth.
एंड मोर हार्म आपने बॉलीवुड का भी बड़ा जिक्र किया है अपनी बुक में तो जो गाने एंड ऑल दैट द पोर्ट्रेयल ऑफ कथक तो व्हाट अबाउट दैट
मैं इसके लिए एक वाक्य मेरे साथ जो
हाँ
हुआ
जी
है
प्लीज
1967 I can even quote the year. The night in we were living in Bharti Nagar, and Lachu Maharaji. It suddenly, let me cut a long story short. It became a jamghat of artists, and the non-artists were only Mr. and Mrs. Narayan, and the two young girls, the two daughters, namely me and my younger sister. That's all. And Siddheshri Devi, she was coming. Then they forgot all about us. And then the hasi mazak started amongst themselves, and they kept on telling Siddheshri Amma, "Are gao na, zara bhav karo na, bara bhav karo na." Then she would say, "Are na ho." And then, "Are karo na, tum to hamare ghar ke shagird ho." So now I heard this ghar ki shagird ho. Now Birju Maharaji there, Lachu Maharaji had come from Bombay, so he was the one who said it. Well, then she did something, and she did a beautiful Abhinay piece. You know, she sang a Tumri and just a beautiful Abhinay piece. And then a few days later, I asked her, I said, "Amma, तो आप उनके घर की शागिर्द थी?" "हाँ बेटा, हम जाते थे सीखने के लिए." तो मैंने कहा, "तब तो आप कथक डांसर कहलाएंगी." She immediately stopped me. She says, "Don't call me a Kathak dancer." So I said, "But then you went over there to learn." And they said, "Ki aap to ghar ki shagird hai." So he says, "Yeah, we all went to learn to embellish our singing with moods and emotions, to understand the moods and emotions, the abhinay involved, the, how do you delineate? What is it? One is, of course, that you एकदम एक भीन भी जाता है, but she said that was just to add dimension and more depth to our main thing. So she said, "Don't call me a Kathak dancer." Today, everybody's a Kathak dancer.
that's my question
I think don't call me a Kathak because the Kathaks were much superior to them. Not because don't call me a Kathak because they are this thing. Because the Kathaks were considered Brahmins of a very high order. And Sudeshvi Devi could never call herself a Kathak. They were her gurus.
In fact,
that is the difference.
In fact, in Sant Kabir Nagar, one gentleman who is known as Pandit Abdul Hamid Shastri. Please note the name. Pandit Abdul Hamid Shastri. Now, why is he? He's got a Pandit and a Shastri and an Abdul Hamid. He is an Islamic by faith person who has learnt Kathak, who used to perform Kathak, but he's a great scholar of Ramayana and Ramcharitmanas. And he's been representing India in other Ramayana festivals also. And so he's been, people have given him the honorific thing of Pandit Abdul. Now, when he was talking, he said, only because all these people who belong to the Kathak community, everybody could be a Brahmin, but they are not Kathaks. So it is only those born in the Kathak community who do that, from generation after generation, they are the ones who can be called Kathak because they belong to Kathak. It's like agar मैं कहूँ कि मैं लोहार हूँ, but I don't come from a lohar family, that way. So I'm not a lohar. So it is that, and he says you and I will be. He's looking at me and telling me also, you and I will be called nartak or nartaki ya nat ya nati. So so in so that was the ethics and the kind of respect they had for this community. In fact, in certain villages, they referred to them as jati. Then, of course, when we told my Guru Birju Maharaj ji, he said, हमें जाति मत बोलो, हम लोग community हैं, लेकिन जाति हमारा तो क्या वही है, वो चारों जाति में ही है. So,
Amazing. Uh, so I was talking about Bollywood. उसका आंसर गीतिका जी.
Bollywood is only to this extent that unfortunately Mughal-e-Azam was such a hit, and so after that it became Kathak to Mughal-e-Azam में ही होता है, तो अब मुगल कोर्ट में ही होता है, वो तो हो ही नहीं सकता कहीं और, and so that narrative is so deep rooted in India now. Even there was a show right now, I think a musical in Delhi, very popular, and it went all over India. Again, it was all just whirling and twirling and doing brahmari and again उसको कथक बोल के और वो मुगल कोर्ट में बन गया. So ये मुगल कोर्ट and कथक got linked thanks to Bollywood. हमने पूरी रिसर्च कर ली क्योंकि मैंने शोभना को पूछा, मैंने कहा ये पर मुगल कोर्ट में तो है ही है, हम तो जब से we are born we are being told कि it's a Mughal dance, it's a Mughal dance. तो ये we have to find this out, otherwise we can't write this book. Otherwise, हाँ. We researched and researched and researched. Not a single paper has been written on this to say that how is it a Mughal dance? Or what is the connection between any Persian, Arabic, whatever, that Middle East dance to this dance? कोई एक शब्द नहीं लिखा, कोई ही नहीं हमें मिला. फिर जी हमने खुद ही करा कि हम खुद ही करते हैं. So
16th century के नर्तन निर्णय में है कि जक्काड़ी है.
वो आ रहे हैं उस पे. हाँ. So then we, because I have with me the great